So, Barry Cowen. As the fallout from the lifting of the eviction ban continues, let's have a chat about Barry Cowen, shall we? No, I'm not going to talk about his drink driving debacle or the fact that he was drunk driving on a learner permit. And no, I'm not here to talk about the latest revelations by the Ditch that he only remembered he had farmland to declare after his Fianna Fáil buddy Robert Troy was caught out. And no, I'm not here to talk about how he doesn't declare the income from said land because he can't understand the rules around declarations. No, I'm not going to talk about that today, although it is worth talking about yet another government TD who is flouting the rules and hiding vested interests. Questions must be asked about how these people can successfully govern anything when they can't even govern their own declarations to the, let's be honest here, the fairly low standard required. And that's not to mention their honesty, or rather lack thereof. No, I'll leave those picture-painting, character-building facts about Barry Cowen to one side today, because today we have a much bigger insult to talk about. In case you missed it, and because I want to make sure there is no chance to misinterpret his words, to make sure there is no confusion, here's Barry making a speech in the Dáil on the 29th of March 2023 while defending the government during the motion of no confidence debate, a week after he voted to lift the eviction ban and only a couple of days before that ban was lifted.
The crisis relating to evictions, though, of course, is immediate. We all agree with that. Keeping or extending the ban isn't necessarily going to solve this crisis into the future. It's like making sweets free for children. It's fine for a little while, but ultimately detrimental to the greater need.
I mean, where do you even begin with that? Keeping or extending the ban isn't necessarily going to solve this crisis into the future. It's like making sweets free for children. It's fine for a little while, but ultimately detrimental to the greater need. What in God's name is that absolutely patronising bullshit? Where do you even begin with such a disgusting statement? I mean, what on earth compelled him to spout such tone-deaf drivel? Oh, that's right, he's a Fianna Fáiler. They don't do compassion, or morals, or ethics, or empathy, or care. They just don't care. So insulated from the real world that he honestly thinks he can spout any old crap and get away with it. Thousands facing no-fault evictions into homelessness with no supports up and running despite what the government may say, and he thinks it's a good idea to compare the issue to free sweets for children. Jesus. Right, so let's take a breath and take a closer look here. He said in his non-apology apology the next day on the Clareburn Live radio show that it wasn't his intention to offend people, you know, that old chestnut, and that he would like people to hear the context surrounding the comments. So let's do that. He prefaced this nonsense analogy with more nonsense about how keeping the ban isn't going to solve the crisis. No one said it would. He spent a good portion of his appearance on the Clareburn show repeating this as if it was some kind of gotcha. I'll say this clearly so that maybe even Barry Cowen can wrap his head around it. No one is saying the ban will solve the crisis, but it needs to be extended so that his own government can get their collective arses into gear and actually get the supports up and running so that when those people who are to be evicted get to that point, that they actually have somewhere to go, or better yet, the ability to stay in their home. This isn't bloody rocket science. The ban was only ever meant to be a stopgap while other measures were put in place, Barry. But they weren't put in place, because Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens have no clue how or will to fix the absolute clusterfuck of a mess they've made in the Irish housing market. So there we go, we've heard the context around his comment and understood it and debunked it. Now on to the main event, the sweets. The fact that this was a prepared statement he was reading from makes this whole thing even worse. He actually sat down and decided that this was the best thing to say, that this was the best analogy to use. He claimed people are focusing too much on the words and not the message, and that he could have used other analogies. So why didn't he? I don't buy that he just happened to choose those words by chance. Words are powerful, and in prepared remarks in defence of your own government's track record, you'd want to put your best foot forward, pick the best arguments. And that's why I believe he knew full well what he was doing when he chose those words. He's a career politician after all, not some new fresh-faced TD who is trying too hard. He knows well the power words can have, and he purposely chose this analogy. The eviction ban was like free sweets. In my view, that's exactly what he wanted to say. It attempts to diminish the issue by likening it to a trivial childish issue. That was by design, and it plays well to the voter base of landlords and pure capitalists who are more concerned with property rights than the right to a home. It also attempts to minimise the effect of lifting the ban, but it goes even further than that in my view. It likens the arrangement between tenant and landlord to that of being gifted free sweets, that the landlords are being benevolent by gifting a home to the poor, unfortunate renter class, purposefully ignoring that the renter class are being gouged for the privilege of paying off someone else's mortgage. No, it's free sweets, he said. And it adds weight to the government's own view that they themselves were being benevolent and gracious by allowing the renter class to keep a roof over their heads for longer than they should have been able to, if not for the ban. Ultimately detrimental to the greater need, he says. The greater need is not landlords looking to cash out at the top of the market. The greater need is not landlords wanting to evict tenants so they can become an Airbnb. The single greatest need is keeping a roof over your head, and the eviction ban helped in that respect. A tsunami of homelessness. That's what's on the way. The greatest need is avoiding it. But no, that's not the government plan. The whole thing, from his remarks to his sorry if you were offended non-apology, makes it perfectly clear that he does not care one iota about renters, and neither do the government. You'll notice that there was no condemnation of his choice of words from government benches. No, of course not, because they agree with him. That much is patently obvious. They do not care about renters. They only care about landlords and investors and property owners. If you're a renter and you have a problem with that, well, as far as they're concerned, they gave you free sweets in the form of the eviction ban, so what more do you want? That's why Barry Cowen's remarks drew no ire from government, and why he can't understand the backlash from ordinary human beings with hearts. It's sickening. The government are so preoccupied with convoluted controversies to avoid having to answer the ever-burning question of where do they go, that they were probably quite happy with Barry Cowen over this. It would not surprise me to find out that he got a nice pat on the back for being so brazen about it all and diverting the questions away from where do they go. So there you have it. Just one of the 83 TDs that have no place for morality or decency in their lives. Just another of the 83 TDs who don't care for tenants. Just another TD who does not deserve his seat in the Dáil, as he clearly does not represent the ordinary people of Ireland. Beyond disgraceful. Thanks for joining me today, and you know the drill by now. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell icon and share this video. It really helps the channel grow, and I genuinely appreciate it and the support I've been shown since launching the channel. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter for real-time ramblings and reactions. Until next time, slán go fóill.